Hi, my name is Amanda Wheeler, and I'm doing a case study for my Ethics Across the Professions class. I have chosen Case Study 6.5, Chatty Doctors, written by Megan Regal. I will talk about a study that was done in New York about how doctors waste office visit time and will answer the following questions from the book. Question 1. As a patient, should one expect some personal closure with one's doctor or only speak about relevant medical issues? Question 2. How can doctors self-regulate a potential desire to be chatty? What ethical issues should be at the front of this self-regulation? Question 3. Does the patient have an ethical duty to request a specific type of treatment? The particular study conducted by Dr. Howard B. Beckman, Medical Director of the Rochester Individual Practice Association, an internist and a geriatrician, that was done in New York, June 2007. He suggested chatty doctors who talk about their personal life during office visits may be wasting the patient's valuable time. Researchers conducting this study sent a group of actors posing as new patients to primary care doctors and found that a third of the doctors made unprompted comments about their own health, personal life, or political views. 85% of those comments were not viewed as useful or relevant to the patient. While a good bedside manner is important, researchers say that in the era of an ever-shortening office visits, doctors should keep the conversation based on the patient. We found that physician self-disclosures were often non sequiturs, unattached to any discussion in the visit, and focused more on the physician than the patient's needs. Writer-researcher Susan H. McDaniel, Ph.D., of the University of Rochester School of Medicine and Dentistry, and colleagues in the Archives of Internal Medicine, stated, "I think all of us on the team thought self-disclosure is a potentially positive aspect to build a doctor-patient relationship, and that we ourselves were good at it." Dr. McDaniel went on to say that along with her and other doctors were shocked with the results and realized that maybe not 100% of the time, but most of the time, self-disclosure had more to do with us than the patients. She had recently went to the doctor and realized after she left and was sitting in the parking lot that she had only asked one of the two questions because her doctor was telling her about his trip to Italy. Longer disclosures, but not useful and disruptive, interrupted the flow of information exchange and expended valuable patient time in the typically time-pressured primary care visit. The results of the study, Chatty Doctors Wasting Time. As part of the study, on patient care and outcomes, 100 doctors agreed to allow two people trained to act as patients come into their office sometime over the course of a year. The test patients would secretly make an audio recording of the encounter. The investigator analyzed recordings of 113 of those office visits, excluding situations when the doctors figured out that the patient was fake. The results showed doctors talked about themselves in about 1/3, which is 34% of the visit. Most often he or she was taking a medical history or gathering information about the patient before the physical exam. Only 10% of these self-disclosures were in response to a patient's question, and the conversation returned to the patient's topic in only one in about 5 cases. Only 3 physician self-disclosures, which is about 4%, were coded as useful, providing information, education, support, explanation, acknowledgement, or prompting some indication from the patient that it had been helpful. In addition, 11% of personal chit-chat was considered disruptive and detracted in some way from the doctor-patient relationship. These instances included when the doctor talked about him or herself for an extended period of time, inadvertently competed with the patient, requested the patient's support, or expressed personal or political viewpoints that did not take the patient's perspective into account. Dr. Howard B. Beckman, Medical Director of the Rochester Individual Practice Association, an internist and geriatrician, who was the author of the study, analyzed conversations before and after the doctor started talking about themselves. He had been saying for years that disclosure was a form of patient support. He went on to say, if someone says they have a problem and you say, well, I understand, I have it too, That would be comforting. But then he added, in truth that never happens, the patients were not confronted because the conversations got off track. 4 out of 5 times when a doctor interjected personal information, the doctor never returned to the topic under discussion before the interruption happened. They found that the longer the disclosures went on, the less functional they were. Then the patient ends up having to take care of the doctor, and then the question is, who's paying who? Dr. Jeffrey Borkan, who is a professor and chairman of the Department of Family Medicine at Brown University, said it was easy to see why doctors thought it would be helpful to talk about themselves. Doctors are told they must make a connection with the patient. But like Dr. Borkan said, the instruction is often imprecise. How do you make that connection? Many think the way to do it is talking about themselves. Dr. John K. Min, an internist at Kernodle Clinic in Burlington, North Carolina, said he had always been circumspect when he talked to patients. Then, however, he recalled a patient who came to see him 5 years ago for a physical exam. Dr. Min is avid about building furniture, and this patient is very skilled at furniture building. The patient spent 40 minutes with Dr. Min. When he left, Dr. Min looked at his notes. He said, "I realized I didn't even examine him." Dr. Min said, the man, he added, was gracious when Dr. Min called to apologize. He said, "Well, we'll just wait till next time." Doctors need to spend more time on the patient, not about their personal venues. Yes, there needs to be a good doctor-patient relationship, but not at the point that the patient's health isn't cared for.